Well, hello and welcome to India Questions. It is very, very rare, and this program has been around for a long time, to get, in my opinion, two of the really greatest human beings that we have living on this planet today, and both together. And they've never been together before, although I've had them individually, and they have so much in common. Bill Gates and Aamir Khan. What do they have in common? They're two of the world's greatest school and college dropouts. Number one. So if you're going to drop out, don't worry. This is your future. They're also, in a way, moving on to phase 2 of their lives, a new chapter. I can give you a little anecdote. When about 2 years ago, or maybe a little more than that, when Bill Gates was in his phase 1 of his life, and we were talking to a whole lot of software people rather than more interesting people like you, I asked him to give a sound check, say 1, 2, 3, 4. And he said 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, because he was counting notes then. Now he's counting people being saved by vaccination, by vaccines, in terms of millions and millions of them. It's a huge, terrific change in your life, phase 2. And Aamir, in a way, you've also moved from, of course, you haven't given up your earlier acting career, but you have also moved on to social issues with this most path-breaking television program, which had a huge impact. And everybody said, you're nuts. Why are you doing this sort of stuff? Why don't you stick to movies? So what motivated? What caused that change?
You know, I don't know. I think it's... You know, I was at a discussion some time back, and one of the questions asked to my team in Satyamajete was, what are the good qualities that a good NGO should have? Was the question asked to Satya, actually my director.
Yes.
And he said that one of the good qualities any NGO should have, or any person who wants to be part of social, service should have, is that it's not just the emotion of wanting to do something for somebody else, which is in itself a good emotion, that you want to do something for someone. Right. But if you feel that your life is incomplete if you don't.
Right.
So you're doing it for yourself, really.
Right.
Of course, you're doing it for someone else. And I think that that's what is important. And it's something that happens to you if you feel like. It doesn't have to happen to you. But I think in me what grew was that this feeling that I needed to, for myself, do something where I felt better about myself, when I felt I was, I feel I'm so privileged in so many ways. And I really feel that when I see around me people who are not as privileged, I can't just sit by and be comfortable with that. There's a need in me to, reach out and perhaps help if I can.
And in a way, you're lucky to have a position where people will listen, you'll be able to...
And I'd like it to use it to the best of my abilities. Yeah. So I guess that's why I've moved into the space where I have. It's for my own emotional or mental, peace of mind and satisfaction.
And Bill Gates, you've also got a little more emotional in phase 2. I've seen you almost choke up talking about your dad, about how your wife motivated you, how your dad's your hero, and how all this means a little more to your heart than your head. So what motivated you to make this change?
Well, I think it's very similar. I loved my career in software and being part of building Microsoft, the personal computer industry, the internet. In my 20s and 30s, I was fanatical, and I saw what innovation could do. But there came a point where I thought, hey, I should turn that work over to other people and think about how innovation doesn't naturally benefit everyone. It doesn't reach down to the poorest. In fact, I'd gotten a chance to see some of that as I traveled the world. And as a big believer in innovation, I thought, okay, we can push it in that direction. And so it's allowed me to learn a lot of new things. And I wouldn't be able to do it except for the luck, the visibility, the resources that came from that first career. And I actually use a lot of what I learned then in terms of engaging scientists and driving innovation as fast as we can.
And how important was your wife in this chapter 2 of your life?
When I first said to my wife that I was considering retiring from my full-time work at Microsoft, You know, she
Did
was
she
careful.
say, "Are
to
you
s-
crazy?"
Well, no, she was careful not to jump on it because she wanted it to be my decision.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, that I would
yeah.
never look back, and felt like that wasn't that I'd really picked the time that I felt comfortable with that because it'd been so central to my life.
Right.
But she was certainly enthused about it. During my time at Microsoft, I'd always had somebody who was my key partner, Paul Allen in the early
Right,
founding
yes.
era, Steve Ballmer as the company became big and complicated. Now in this era, it's really my wife who's my key confidant, and so we get to do this together.
And great motivator. She's a driving force behind a lot of what you do.
Absolutely.
Or what your
She's
organization
very
does.
energetic about these things. She's actually in Malaysia this week at a Women Delivers conference talking about reproductive health and how women get access to those tools. So she's equally passionate
Yes.
and also had a Microsoft career. So some of the ways we think about measurement and managing people, getting the best people, we've got a common background.
Now, Aamir, when Bill Gates kind of launched into this phase 2, he talked to and convinced a lot of billionaires around the world, especially Warren Buffett, to donate a lot, to be philanthropic and donate to his organization or to other organizations and to make change. What about in India? We don't see enough of that. We've got a great example of Asim Premji, who you highlighted in your...
Yeah, in our show, we
show.
did showcase what Mr. Premji is doing, and I think he's doing really wonderful work, and really we should all take cue from that. And certainly I feel that, I mean, I do believe that in India there is a lot of philanthropy.
Yeah.
There's huge amounts that we often donate, but it's usually to religious
Right.
organizations.
Right.
We donate a lot to religion.
Yes.
Maybe that is a need in us to try and safeguard our passage into heaven, or what, I don't know.
Insurance policy.
Yeah, you know, because we feel that if we donate a lot to temples or mosques or, you know, religious
Right.
institutions, and that's where I see most of the big donations going. So it's not that it's not that we don't donate.
Yes.
We donate huge amounts, but they go into religious institutions. Whereas we don't donate, you know, into education or into healthcare. And I personally feel that if you donate into education and healthcare, the God up there is going to be really happy.
Happier than...
He'll probably be happier. So I mean, I think it's time that people who are well off financially in India and who would like to contribute to nation building,
Yes.
to building this
It
nation
is,
into what
exactly.
it can be, and to trying to achieve its full potential for the youth, for the kids of our country, and for the you know, the emotional happiness for all of us. Then that is one area that we can really help in.
Do you think
is in
it's
you know
like-
in donating huge sums into education, healthcare, and other such things rather than just religion.
Yeah. Do you think like you need two hands to clap? It's a bit of a failure on the lack of institutions that they can feel safe that the money has gone to the right place. Like if you donate to the Prime Minister's Relief Fund, you just feel God knows what will happen, where it will go, part of the budget. But if you've got something, an Indian equivalent of the Gates Foundation or something where you know, I spend the money here, it's not going to go too much to salaries, it's going to go targeted.
I don't agree with that entirely, Pranay, because I feel that while, yes, we are concerned about, you know, where are we putting our money or where are we donating, that's a concern which all of us should have,
Yes.
certainly. But I don't think that you won't find any institution or...
If you look, you'll find them
you
in
will.
India as well.
It'll take you a week or so to find out, and you will if you really are interested.
Right.
I don't think it's
That's
that
just an
difficult to
excuse.
find out. Yeah, that's not a sufficient excuse as far as I'm concerned.
So Bill Gates, when you meet Indian entrepreneurs, billionaires, are you getting any traction with them that they should also donate and to this second miracle, a miracle of, say, vaccines?
Well, I'm sure that philanthropy in India will continue to grow. I think there's an awareness that although the government can do a lot, that there are some things that are innovative, whether it's good schools showing the way on that. There's people like Protham who I think do an amazing job, and I'm sure there's others out there like that. In agriculture, there's Pradhan, getting smart young people getting out there, pushing innovative techniques. And so, yes, philanthropy is going to grow. The only thing I do is as people are interested in philanthropy, I share with them how much fun it can be and talk to them about the fact that as you move from the place that you were successful, usually in business, you're going to feel a little uncomfortable because you're going to be in an area where the measures are not as clear, and you haven't had the 20 or 30-year period of experience where you're really familiar with the territory. Right. You will have to engage with the government, at least to show the way on certain issues. So it's tricky. I think one of the earliest philanthropists anywhere was the Tata family. They were actually a few years...
Tatas, yeah.
Tatas, even before
Tatas, right.
Rockefeller and Carnegie. And I learned a lot from those early foundations because they were pretty brilliant in what they did.
Yes.
And I think the more people give, the more Azam Premjis there are, the more it makes other people think, okay, should I do the same? And so I hope that 10 years from now we can say that this was the golden era of philanthropy in India and the rest of the world.
And you do find some traction when you talk to them?
Absolutely. The interest in discussion is very strong. In fact, there have been a number of meetings, and people are finding their way. That boundary of how you connect and show models for the government, some capacity building is taking place. The U.S. is, in this respect, further down the learning curve. There's no lack of places to give. And to some degree, the universities have to reach out a little more and say, okay, here's a program that you could fund. And they should look at how that's happened in the U.S., which is the best.
Very organized, beautifully organized universities in America.